Hello, this is Fernando Barela, and this is going to be a response to Mr. Putin's threat again towards the world and the greater Western world of nuclear confrontation. I know he had mentioned that supposedly his nuclear offensive weapons are much better than ours, and that a nuclear, well, I don't think he said that a nuclear war can be won, but I think that we need to start having a continued what do you call this, a contingency plan. I think we need to figure out how to win a nuclear war if it comes down to that. I wouldn't be afraid. Look at all your possibilities. Use all of our connections. I hate to say, but I'm pretty sure we have our own spies. So do other nations that are in the West have their spies. Keep a lookout on their nuclear refilling, and possibly the moving of their mobile nuclear weapon trucks. If you think the time is right, especially when we start to deploy more experts from the West that would volunteer to help train the Ukrainians on some of the technology that we are offering them in order to protect themselves, their right to protect themselves. They got all the right in the world to protect themselves. They've been in the Russian political system more than once, many times over the years, and they have been trying to split from that political system that has a lot of restrictions, especially the Russian government seems to like to use people rather than sharing in their success. So the Ukrainians want to come over to the Western side because we offer so much more freedom. If you want to start your own businesses in say your Ukrainian citizens, anything that we can do, they want the opportunity to do so. Even speak their mind, and you can already kind of start to notice the difference between Ukrainians and Russians. The Ukrainians seem to be very Western orientated. They're really excited to take advantage of what the Western political system has to offer, and the main thing is opportunity. You're free to be as successful as you like. I believe. I don't know if you know my situation, but we're primarily free. We're the most freest political system in the world. And Ukraine has the opportunity right now to pick what political system they want to be with, and they don't want to be with the Russian political system for hundreds of years now, at the very least. I mean, if we go back to when Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union and all that other stuff, so that's why I mentioned 100 years now, for hundreds of years now. So, and and my advice would be to the Pentagon is, keep an eye on the Russian military forces. Make sure you know where they're at, and make sure we have some way to intercept especially those hypersonic missiles. And so, and if we need to, we'll take out whatever we need to take out in Russia. So we need to, my advisement would be is put our, I don't know if we need to panic and put all of our nuclear weapons or all of our nuclear forces on standby, but they need to be alerted anyways to make sure that we don't let anything sneak up behind us. So we need to know. I think the biggest threat is that we need to know where all of their nuclear submarines are at. Their especially their nuclear capable submarines with the ICBMs. So whatever submarines that we have between the United States and the rest of the European nations need to put those fishes into sea here pretty soon. Russia has already made their threats, and for as for who Putin is, he's not that dumb. I'm not going to say that he's dumb, but because he's been able to hold on to power as long as he has. Um, um, I would say he's pretty good. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't say that he's better than us. There's no way. We're the best in the world. That's my assumption. But yeah, he also, I guess, he suggested that his nuclear forces are much more advanced than ours. But this is the most important thing that we need to pay attention to. Whatever super expensive nuclear weapons he has, he can't have that many of them. And whatever he does have, or whatever we assume that he has, or knows that he has, we need to find a way to defeat that threat. And like I said, I would put the nuclear forces in trying to understand nuclear wars, and I mean, we really haven't had one, but learn how to win it, because what Putin is doing is illegal from a world standpoint. We kind of know why he wants Ukraine. He wants to use the people there, and there's a lot of oil in that in Ukraine itself. Not as much as Russia, but they still want to control as much as they can. Of course, these are stories about empires, really. But we can't continue to do this. What we need to do is eventually we're going to have to come to a point that whatever we're going to need to have a world, if you will, organization, and so a new world order. And so that's where I'm planning to take us. That we can't. I don't think that especially stronger military forces like Russia and us, we shouldn't just if we go there, we'd go there to help them, but not take anything. We can work business stuff out and stuff like that. But and that's how we can get a return. But you know, when we set the borders of Ukraine, you know, if there's ever a war that's going to happen, or getting ready for a war, something, we will have a place to come and talk about our problems first, and then, you know, before we actually go, before a nation decides to invade another nation, at least we did as much talking as we could there. And then, you know, anyway, I think it would be, I would, I'm assuming that it's going to be a lot harder for things like for what, you know, Russia is currently doing. They're trying to steal somebody else's land, or even just a little bit of it. You know, we had that small briefing from another just regular smart person that's just like me, you know, has drawn, you know, his thing is called, his show is called On Lines, or Maps on Lines, or something like that. I believe he's right. And so, yeah, and then, and you know, if we do happen to enter a nuclear war, it would be the Russians who would be the ones that would have to take all of the blame, most of the blame, because they're allowing such a crime to be to be allowed by, you know, their leader that seems to be, who knows what's wrong with him, but something's definitely wrong with him. So if he doesn't want nuclear war, then I don't see the big problem. Why doesn't he back out of Ukraine? But he's not going to do that. And they didn't create the nuclear weapon. We did. That's our weapon. We don't give them permission to use it in such of a way. That is a no-no. We're the ones that put the money into it. We're the ones that did the research and development, and we created these weapons. These weapons are ours. It is not theirs, and they cannot hold all of it, can't hold us, especially the United States and the greater Western world. They're not to be used in the way Putin wants to use them. But anyways, Fernando Barela, and we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. Oh, and one last thing. I know I already introduced my way out, but I'm sorry I forgot this. We need to find a way to contain China a lot more, because as far, you know, the further we go down with this Ukrainian and Israeli confrontation, they know exactly what side that we are on, you know. Now, the problem here is that if China really wants to back up Russia 100%, all the way in, you know, I would, you know, I think we need to find a way to let the Chinese leadership, we need to find a way to convince them that that's not going to be a good idea, because, you know, they do got a strong military, but they just barely built it unless they're that in a hurry to use it. Also, you know, who are the ones who buy the most consumer, you know, who's the biggest consumer clients that they have? And I would have to say, you know, I would assume that that would be America. China financial situation, and with its citizens, they're not doing as hot as you know, they like to make it seem as good as they are doing. I don't believe that at all. I believe, you know, they got quite a bit of they got quite of a bit of a population. I think 1.4 billion people in China alone, or and you know, just some like about a decade ago or something like that. You know, it kind of has kind of become, you in that country, there hasn't been that many millionaires or billionaires. And so now this country's, now China is starting to create some wealth, especially wealthy citizens. And that is primarily because of the United States. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I think, a lot of the technology that we pioneer somehow it ends up in China, and so they mass produce that, and so you got a lot of mass production type millionaires. Once we get the hard stuff, once we get past the hard stuff and fund all that we need to know about a technology, somehow it ends up over there when we pretty much perfect it. Now, this ain't on all situations. I'm pretty sure we're working with a lot of nations out there to help advance certain technologies. But, you know, so we need to find a way to convince China not to be all the way in with Russia, because we are the biggest consumer, I believe, the client that they have. There's a lot of people in India, which would help their economy, I guess. If India went strictly with them, but that's almost impossible. But let's just assume, and then I guess you got China, and then I guess you got Russia, and then you got other places that they control. But I still think America comes up with the pioneering technologies, and we basically lead the world in technology. And so after a nuclear war like this, if there, let's just assume that we would have a nuclear war, to rebuild those the trust between us is going to take some time. It's not gonna happen overnight. And so China needs to really consider whether it's worth it for them to go all in with Russia. Russia, I don't think has, Russia has lost its relevance here in the world, and we must understand this. That, especially if they like to steal people's minerals for their own good, when would be the line? When will we draw the line where this is not acceptable? And so I think that we need to start doing it now. Ukraine is a developed country and has been for a long time, and what is theirs is what is theirs. Period. And so, and as Americans, that's why we're on the Ukrainian side. And they're really interested in having democracy, really stand up type democracy, very dynamic type culture, political culture, just like ours. There's a lot of there's a lot of problems with it, but it's the best system, and I believe in it too. Just that, I think what's happening here in America, you got this group who is abusing, I believe, democracy. You have some of these talk show people who say, America's bad, always talking bad about us, and us wanting to help the Ukrainians and other people from the rest of the world. The thing that we need to understand is that, granted that there's a lot of delay for the Ukrainian military to get assistance from us. We just passed a I think it was a $300 million emergency package, but that was thought of beforehand. Before, I guess we kind of, or the political system in America kind of knew that there was going to be a delay, and so they took care of it even that far off, which is good. Good. You need to always have contingency plans, contingency plans. Um, and and yeah, I would start talking to the Chinese and start convincing them that it's not going to be good for you if you back the Russians 100%. That we've made up our mind. You're not going to have Ukraine the way you want it. And so if this does turn into a nuclear war, how do you think you're going to benefit from? You know, and like I said, yeah, I was a little nervous about talking about the world new order. Well, it would be something like the United Nations, but maybe this would be called. You can keep it the United Nations, but it could be the United Countries or just the world order or something. I don't know, but if say one country wants to invade another country because one country's doing something wrong, well, we can talk to this. We can talk about a situation, all nations involved who are all set up, and they can help, keep this from becoming a war. And if they do go to war, and it's a surprise attack, and if it's just not understandable from the majority of us, it can be hit with fines and criminal charges. So that's why I was interested in NATO of acquiring its own kind of military, or a couple of aircraft carriers and submarines of their own, so we can protect more of the of the new world order, especially the Western countries, because I think we've came a long ways in working on our freedom. And there's a lot of people who want to stop working on that freedom because they think that democracy is weak, and some of them try to use it in some way. But as long as there are people who will stand up and say, no, that's wrong, or I think that's what we need to do. I don't think that if you disagree with something, then I think it's a good way to find a way to say, hey, I disagree, but you don't have to be complete assholes, about it. There's a way for it to work, and this is the best situation ever. You know what I mean? I don't want to be king or anything. I just want my stuff. Let me live my life, and that's it. This babysitting stuff sucks. But I think I cleared everything up that I wanted to say. I don't really like making these videos. It's not, but I'm not sure where we stand with us wanting to do the right thing. So that's why I'm just here, kind of helping out however I can. I hope that you can take these suggestions into real light and conversation. But I believe I'm done. Like I said, I think we need to find a way to convince China that there is a nuclear war, if there is going to be one, that it wouldn't be a good idea for them to show up on the wrong side. And we are the biggest. I think we are the biggest consumer to that country, and we need to find a way to hit them in their economy, destroy their economy if it comes to that situation. But their incentives, we need to clear up that, don't fight with us. We can work together. But Russia doesn't want to. Putin just wants to stay in power. He's the richest man on earth. He doesn't. I don't think he cares much about his his citizens. He's not a real king, or a real leader. He just wants to stay in power, and we got. It's a very interesting time because Putin is looking for power, so that way he doesn't go to jail, or I don't know what's going to happen to him, but he wants to stay in power. Donald Trump wanted to be in power again because he really liked it, but he got in trouble. Now his running anymore isn't on his ego anymore. It's about keeping himself out of jail. Well, if he can work with us with the Ukrainian war, well then, we might have something to talk about with him. But if he doesn't, I believe this is a bigger situation, and I believe if we find a way to play this game right, we won't get into a nuclear war, and we have the ability to make many people's lives better after this hell that's going on, and it can even be better for us, I believe. Hopefully it will delay any other wars like China with Taiwan for a while, until we can set up some sort of world organization where that would no longer be viable. But who knows what we're going to have to go through to set something up like this. Whatever we do set up, though, would have to have teeth and be ironclad. So, Fernando, Barela, we'll talk to you later.